Hey, yo, we're back.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm very good. We took another week off. Yes,
Did we?
again. Yes, we did. We did get one
Oh,
last
I
week.
tell you why I feel like we didn't take a week off is
Yeah.
because like we were commentating when we weren't. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's just like doing a podcast, but like
yeah. It
live.
was. Well, like, yeah, okay, so if you didn't watch, but Siam to Sydney just recently happened, and
Mm.
your boy did a lot of the commentating, and
That's a big job
it was a
doing
big job.
the amateurs through the pros. Like
But,
it's really fun. Like the whole time is fun.
yeah,
But like yeah, it's a
like a one-man job seems, like, for me, it seems very daunting.
well, actually, I'll tell you why it was such a big job because there was, I don't even know why, there was some delay for like
Mm.
40 minutes. The fight started a little bit late, as always happens, but I was reffing and judging the development day portion.
Yes.
Yeah, like I was, but in like a trainee sort of sense. So I was doing scores for the first 12 fights, and then I refed the last three. It was a big development day portion. And then like I was under the impression that like it was just like I had to get straight in the seat and start commentating.
Yep.
So like I just ran up the stairs, had a can of coffee. And then like I was talking and went and did a little brief with the I didn't even know where I was supposed to sit. I just had to look around and saw a microphone and I was like, yeah, that probably looks like me.
Yeah.
And then sat down and did like a little brief with the guy from B Live. And he was like, right, chuck your headphones on and you're good to go. So I put them on and I start like kind of introing it. I said, is the stream live? He said, yeah, it's live. People can watch it right now. It's just kind of like a shot of the ring. So I just start talking, like doing a little bit of an intro under the impression like we're like moments away from the first fight coming out. It's just me waffling and a shot of the ring for like, oh, they didn't see the whole thing, like because the stream wasn't live. For some of it, there was an issue with that, but like at least 20 minutes of just like me talking, and then I'll be like, oh, it's gonna start any minute now.
That's even worse. It's like,
But I didn't eat either, so I was like, man, this is really time that I could have gone and got some food. But once like a few minutes elapsed, it was like, well, now it's gonna start any second.
yeah. But going on that, how was your first reffing and judging experience?
It was interesting. Like it's obviously at a local level. You've got the complexity of knowing a lot of the people in the ring. So for myself personally, at like a development day level, that's less prevalent. Because most of the people that I kind of know well are just more so around my own experience level. But you know the gyms, so that just kind of adds. I mean, it's to be expected, but it's definitely when you're in the seat, it's a little bit different because, of course, like all my friends from Siam were fighting.
Yep.
So it's kind of like I find it's not so hard because you're so hyper focused on scoring that you kind of it's just fighter A versus fighter B. It was interesting. Like I'm glad to get the experience for it, and you've got Trevor and Elias, who I've said like we've talked before, absolute legends. They're running over, so you do score, and then they'll look at it, as you go and as you submit the scores and stuff like that. That's one of the benefits I think's understated about the development day format is that you've got kind of like a system that can train judges and refs too. So it doesn't have to move at the pace of a real fight show. So like the guys can just take scores, have a look, ask a question about what was your thoughts on this. I think most of the guys who were kind of learning how to do it did quite well. I don't think there was any of glaring issues. But the first fight that I actually had to ref was Levi from our gym. So that was like
weird predicament.
Yeah, it's a weird spot to be in when like it's definitely that was probably from a feeling standpoint. I think the most unexpected was reffing. I think I thought I had an idea of what it would be like. But yeah, it's I don't know, same thing. I didn't have any issues. Like I didn't have to administer an 8 count, for example, or stop a fight, and there was no major foul. So in that sense, it was quite easy. I think a good one to just get used to it because there was a couple of the guys who were reffing for the first time had to 8 count, had to potentially stop fights, which is that's a bit more pressure because like I found in the fights that I refereed, my job was just to make sure they separated when the bell rang. They didn't give me any more work to do. Break up clinches when there was nothing happening, but I didn't feel like I was ever in the decision making seat.
Mm.
But yeah, it's interesting to kind of keep that calm sort of demeanor that you need, but have the level of assertion. Because I refed the big guys, like I refed guys that were much bigger than me.
Yeah, then Trev goes, "Oh, we'll send Hugh in for the big fellas."
Yeah. So like, in one hand, you can't be too kind of hyped up about it, and was like Elias's key point of advice for me. Was he said when I started reffing, I used to get too emotionally invested in the fights, just being so close to it. So you have to kind of be calm, but at the same time, you have to be able to get your hands on these guys and who are in the heat of battle and separate them and make them listen to you and stuff like that. So yeah, probably refereeing was the thing that kind of was the biggest shock. But I think it's also like this one was just a development day, but it wasn't a typical development day format. It was in a venue, and it was in a venue that was honestly quite full. Like that was a big crowd for a development day.
Well, like originally it was meant to be outdoors, but the weather had different different plans, and then it moved into like the old school venue inside the school, which felt great to actually be back in there again.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the crowd came for the development day all the way through the fight. So there was a fair few people there during. Oh, you guys weren't really there for that much of the development day, hey?
Nah,
yeah,
I got it later.
There was a fair few people there, and it's kind of weird to get in the ring. I don't know if it's like I feel like your perception of that environment of getting in the ring with the crowd around you is different. Like I've done it heaps of times to fight, but when you do it to referee, it's just like seeing something you've seen so many times before, but from a completely different perspective. Like it doesn't look the same. Just even the difference in angle, being in the neutral corner while the fighters are there. It's an interesting like new lens to see a fight through. But I enjoyed it a lot. Looking forward to doing a little bit more. I know the development days are still kind of starting to kick back up. They're not quite as active as they were before, but yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more officiating.
Sure, yeah,
when I can.
Yeah, it seemed like a good one. I didn't get there for any of the development day portion from that, but yeah, it sounded like Levi went all right. Yeah, you know, might have been punching in the clinch or some shit like that I was hearing, but you know,
yeah,
you got to call your boy out, you know.
That was the thing with Levi's fight. He was the only person I had to caution. And no, he was good though. I don't think he was sort of offset, but because I feel like it's a potentially funny thing for a fighter as well, especially an early fighter, having someone that they train with refereeing them. Like as much as it's strange for the person doing the refereeing, but Trevor said as well, when we've got officials coming up at a novice level, you have to get used to reffing people you know and reffing people you train with.
Yep,
it's just part of the game.
Well, I guess like especially like with officials at the moment, it's like there's not a whole heap, but a whole heap of new ones are coming through. But just like how Sydney is in general in gyms, it's like it's like, you know, a couple of goldfish in a shot glass. It's just gonna how it is. It's gonna how it's gonna work.
And you compare it to any other grassroots sport, like rugby league referees belong to clubs.
Yep.
You know, it's just like I think it's the model we're moving towards in the sport in general. It's just that kind of community centric grassroots thing, and like we don't have the participation rate or the resources to have completely neutral referees.
Yep.
It's just not realistic. So yeah, it's just part of the game. But that's probably the weirdest one. I think you'd rather, in all cases, just have two gyms that you're not involved with fighting each other to referee. Not even because like it's like you'll have an inherent bias, but just because you'd rather not be concerned about demonstrating bias. Like I feel like that's it's not actually bias that's the issue. It's worrying that something you do will come across as bias, which can also influence your decision making.
Yeah. Well, I guess every official go through one stage in the career list of like, you know, basically the outside crowd influence of like just going, oh, that's fucked, ref, do your job.
Yeah.
And then, but like, yeah, I was like, it'd be an interesting experience, like you know, when one day it happens to yourself, because like it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Especially like, you know, those really close fights. And there has been like a fair few cases, like in Siam to Sydney, where like there's been ultra close fights, and then the decision comes, and then you hear the crowd just go like, you know, just not call it as a riot, but a very big uproar about stuff. But that's part of the game.
And it's the biggest part of the game as well. It's like you have to learn to officiate. Like that's like it's a difficult, you know, all development comes with making your mistakes on the job, really. But they're high they're costly mistakes.
Of course.
Yeah, so it's
But
just
how else are you going to get experience? Just getting in there.
And I mean, the training can prevent major mistakes, of course, and the ongoing training as well, and the idea that you've got like an overseeing judge that can potentially override. But yeah, it's like I don't know. It'd be an interesting feeling to be at the center of a decision like that, and it's that the complexity of being involved in the sport still. That like when you're a current fighter and you're doing a score for two gyms that you know, and they start blowing up the decision, and they know you're sitting at the desk doing the judging, and then like the idea that someone's got to come and be like, "Boy, how'd you score that for my boy?" It's like, well, fuck, like.
Yeah, just get put on the spot.
Yeah, it's a funny spot to be in, mate.
But it's like, hey, this is what I saw. That's how it is, man. All right, so let's go into like so the fishing part of school, and then we're going to like the actual card itself. So I didn't see heaps of cards. I saw some fights, and obviously I was cornering a few of the guys on there, so we called Knox and called it Kai. Covered those fights a bit. I got to see a couple other fights, and then eventually I jumped up in the booth for you for the pro card from there. But other than like Knox, Kai, was there any other amateur fights that you saw from your position that were worth noting on Simon Sydney?
Yeah, I don't have the card in front of me, so you have to excuse me. But one that really sticks out is young Hannah Hicks. She's really, really good. Like she's only had one fight. I think she fought a girl. She went up in weight and fought a girl who'd had 10 or 11. Again, sorry, I don't have the card in front of me. I don't remember the girl's name because it was a good fight. But Hannah has a very impressively mature style, like for her experience level, like a beautiful clinch and knee style. And that was kind of just the story of the fight. Like just those straight knees up the center are too good. Clinch control was amazing. Got quite a long frame. Like she's built like a knee fighter and has really learned to fight to her attributes really well. But I've seen her fight twice now. She's fought twice. I've seen both times. And like, but even her first fight, I was watching that and going like, holy shit! Like, has she not had any fights before? Yeah, she's got like you'd never guess that she'd only had one or two fights. Like, I'm super, super, super impressed with her. Interested to see what's next. It's not, the deepest pool of talent.
It's a bit, I was like, well, there's not many kind of participants in those weight classes and amateurs.
Yeah, I don't mean to say it's not the deepest pool of talent, as in it's not talented. I just mean there's not that many girls currently coming up. Yeah, like you said, to the amateurs at that weight, I think like sort of 57's her preferential weight. So she'll probably go pro quite early. Interested to see when that is, but like, just like if you can catch that fight, she's really, really good, like really impressive. Especially for the experience, like to be fighting the way she does, to have kind of the eye and the ring craft that she does at two fights. And this was sort of the theme of the show for me, was how good and how technical the early stage fighters were. Because even the dev days, like what I'm seeing more and more in New South Wales at the moment is like guys have style in their first couple of fights. Like, I guess just, I don't know what you'd attribute to, like the work of the trainers, the understanding of the sports improving. The way that guys are fighting and scoring points and just demonstrating real developed style, I really think we're bringing from the gym what we used to develop in the ring. Like even like not that long ago, like when I started, it wasn't that long ago. It was only a few years ago, and you didn't see the style and just the tech as you get in early stage fighters. And young Hannah's a really, really good example of this. Like she's just like very, very impressive. Like you'd look at the way she moves and the way she fights and guess her as a seasoned pro. I genuinely mean that. And just a proper. I think probably what impresses me so much about watching her fight is she has a style, and I think, and it is such a defined, effective Muay Thai style. Like she's just a good, effective knee fighter, and I think you don't usually see amateurs or fighters that, I guess, like pro and amateurs, like it doesn't always have a set meaning, but fighters with that level of experience, that 0 to 5 experience, most of the time they haven't found their style yet. Whereas like Hannah kind of has the wherewithal, and I think it's her kind of she has a very calm in-ring demeanor, and I think part of that is just her ability to sort of stay level. Has allowed her to kind of just apply that focus and find a style in her early career. But yeah, was really impressed by that fight, and looking forward to seeing what's next from her.
Yeah, well, that's like going on from saying about like just seeing like this kind of new generation coming through. And there, like you can see like I don't know, it's like a little bit more composure when you like back in the day like the amateurs it just was like just clashing against each other. A clinch didn't really happen. You just kind of meshed on top of each other from that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like maybe it's like promotions that do have like primitive grassroots like Siam, the Sydney, and like you see how like bigger promotions like again like Rebellion, like there seems to be so much maybe more information and more widespread availability to see good Muay Thai that people just go, oh, that's what it's meant to look like, and it start to emulate the training and also these new this kind of new crop of coaches coming through as well.
Yeah, and
changing in the landscape.
Yeah, I think we saw like a massive stylistic development, especially in New South Wales. Like probably kicked off like 7 years ago or something like that. Like where we really started to, I guess, break away from the mold of what we had of being a kickboxing state and have. I mean, it was probably like we've always had Muay Thai, not to just where we kind of had, like you said, these pathways developed. Like there was always Muay Thai, but it was not his, and it's something we're still developing, right? Like he's step 1 and he's step 2 and he's step 3. And what we're seeing is like when you allow for these kind of grassroots pathways, you get like just much more skillful fighters almost immediately because you're not like kind of, we've talked about this before, I won't kind of hammer on about it, but I think like what also matters from there is like once we've started to give fighters the opportunity and the platform is that they're coming back and bringing that to their gyms and helping with the next crop, and you can see that's why you get this exponential fighters growth. And I think like it's a good example, like Hannah trains at Sichathon and she trains alongside Soraya Hamami, of course, and Marina Verissimo. Like these are like the creation of stables in gyms is such an important thing because that's a lot of really high-end knowledge that you can pass along, having kind of fellow very accomplished female fighters. To sort of just thread that info through. And that's why it's an exciting time. Just because as we enrich the talent pool, we enrich the resources that gyms have to continue to develop talent.
Yeah, it's most definitely. So let's continue on to more the amateur card from there. So, was it the homie Jake Davis?
We got to talk about the homie Jake Davis.
Yeah, he had a very photogenic moment as well, where he just punched the helmet off punched the headgear off the dude he was fighting.
Bro, in the interest of transparency, I got to call the homie out as well, though. Like, I like that you're a fan, but bro, he straight headbutted this dude.
Just a cheeky nodder.
Yeah. Like, I said this on commentary, and I had to go back and have a look to make sure I was right. And like, it was so weird. Like, he stung him pretty nicely with a right hand.
Yeah.
His opponent was one of our boys fought him. Leon who. It was kind of close in the early going. Leon's got kind of a wacky style. And then Jake started to score the points a lot cleaner through round 2, and round 3 was really running away with it. And he landed a good right hand and backed Leon up to the corner just with that straight right, and then started just getting after him with just punches. Had him hurt a little bit because the thing was like the punches in combination was he was just kind of threading that right hand through again and again. But somehow smacked the headgear off Leon's head and it flew out into the opposite corner. And then after the headgear came off, he froze his head. Like, I don't know what he was thinking.
Just like, here I go.
Like, I don't know if he just got kind of like overexcited and just was pressing forward and he just whacked him with his head.
It was an interesting maneuver.
Like, I don't know if it was like just a heat of the moment thing or he was kind of like thinking he'd press in and clinch it. But just led with his head. But no one noticed either.
Let's rewind back this moment.
Like there was no call. But well done, Jake.
Yeah, he did, yeah. He looked all right. He looked pretty good after like a bit of a layoff from that one. And it's like, it looks like he might be fighting again in May.
Yeah.
So, like, just keep rolling it on, buddy. Looks like you're going pretty good. Get those
Keep it
fight
up,
numbers
bro.
up. Yeah. Let's talk about some of our boys. So let's go Knox first. So he fought a guy from CKO. I think like going into this one, like it was one of those ones where the story's like, I wonder if he's gonna make it to the fight because he fucked himself up. Like
He fucked himself up a lot of times.
Yeah. like you go, all right, let's go. Hey, we got this fight. You actually gonna come in and train? He goes, oh yeah, and then did some stupid ab workout where he messed up his ab and he couldn't take a shot to the body.
Yeah, and then one of his training partners kindly punched the fuck out of his body when he was hurt. But yeah, I wasn't seeing that much of him. Honestly, like, I'll be straight. He actually looked heaps better than I thought he would look. Like, I was pretty impressed by it. But I mean, like, I don't know. He doesn't fight how he trains. Like, he's got like
some people are like that though.
Yeah, it's odd. Yeah, like I would love if he trained like that. Like I've had so many times in training with him, I'm like, why the fuck are you doing that? But then his style was in the fight was very nuts and bolts and very efficient. Like there was nothing sort of
there's no fat to his work there. It's just like just do the clean scores, kicking well.
Uses elbow, kicked a lot. Good knee game, which again I haven't seen that much from him. Like I
didn't expect him like to search for the clinch and like but I think when he just got in there and just basically as soon as he put his hand, he just tripped him to the ground hard and just goes, I think I got this.
Yeah, he was much physically stronger. I think like that's always kind of when you feel that in a clinch, it's tempting to go back. Like you'd be like, okay, I'm good there.
Yeah,
like if it's
and
not
the knees
really
as well as well. He's ramming some great knees.
Good accurate knees. Yeah, stop that fight in a second. Cut the guy sweet through the headgear.
I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know how either. Because he didn't throw that many elbows.
I didn't like the round break was more than a minute because the check of the card go, well, if we're doing this, like you gonna call it or no, just gonna Vaseline it up and put it through. But it was interesting. It was right behind where the headgear sits, where it was cut down. It
was bleeding like absolute crazy as well. Like they wouldn't have noticed it, but he was actually leaking out of his headgear. And they took it off, and it was bleeding like crazy. And when I saw that, because with all due respect, like he was getting pissed.
Yeah,
I was kind of like, let's just
call it.
Let's just call it. Yeah, like sometimes I feel like. It's hard to call an outclass stoppage in 1-2 minute round, and it's not like he's been 8 counted and stuff. But I'm looking at this guy; he's been wobbled. He's been he's not really put forward any effective offense. He's been pretty badly hurt a couple of times. He's kind of been walked around the ring the whole first, and now he's got a pretty bad cut. I'm sort of looking at that going, especially when it took longer than the duration of the break, as you say, to just inspect the cut. If it takes that much inspection. And you've seen the way that first round went, you could kind of just go, let's call it. Because what happened when they let him back in?
He got fucked up.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
He got to end up getting stopped anyway. So.
Yeah. Like, he goes out for the second round. It looks exactly like the first one, and he falls down and gets stopped. I mean, I don't know. I don't think... It depends how you view, like, an amateur fight. Because he was obviously not too hurt to continue fighting.
Yeah.
But there was potentially enough reason to say, this probably doesn't get better.
Yeah.
Like factoring in how long they were looking at the cut for. But yeah, Knox did well.
He did well. Speaking of these, young Cobra Kai.
Yeah, fuck.
Had a big showing on that card.
Yeah, good. I forget the gentleman he fought's name as well. Sorry, from SBG.
I can't remember.
I didn't read the card through, so I remember the names. I remember. I remember my own boys' names, but he had a good fight. I think we layered a couple of things on. I like working with Kai. I like Kai a lot. I keep that under wraps. It's good for me to have Kai working actively now because we work at the cadence that we train at. It doesn't change that much. We ramp things up. Not even really we ramp things up. Like we back things off for a week or 2 weeks after a fight and then we kick them back up again. It's not really that's how we operate because he trains so much. Like we don't need to this is what we're going to do for the next 6 weeks.
It's not like he takes time off.
Yeah, and even even maybe in my own fight preps it would be a little bit more going the other way. I fight a little bit less than he does now and fight professionally, but he's at that stage in his career and this is we've talked about what his plans are and what he wants to do and he's a big believer in the idea that now he wants to fight as much as possible. And that's the way I did it. And that's the way I believe you should treat, especially your amateur career. Get 20 fights done obviously if you can stay healthy, like I'm not saying
stay healthy, and depends like if you can get your division's big enough to do it as well.
Yeah. Fight. I mean, what I guess I would say is fight as much as you can, and that as you reasonably can. That doesn't mean necessarily fight with some major injury that's going to affect your ability to perform, or you know what I mean. But if the situation allows, move the stuff that you can move, so you can fight, and that's where he's at. He's prioritizing it a lot, and he only fought kind of 4 weeks before this one or something like that. Yeah.
Not too far.
And the first fight he had at 1774 in February, it's like we came up with a couple of things that we thought we needed to level on, because I think he had soundly outclassed the guy he fought before, but maybe just had not made some of the strategic decisions that we would have liked him to. But I also think that first fight he had in February, it was a long layoff, and it was just kind of a chance to shake the rust off. So I was talking to him after weigh-ins. We were having the little post-weigh-in feed, and we were just having that kind of like final, this is what we're going to do. And we know like what I found like watching Kai's last fight, it was a little bit like we need him to figure out how strong and imposing he is, because I think he kind of he won the whole fight soundly, but would kind of let the other guy dictate the exchanges, like let him pick where it was, and then Kai would win there. But what I was talking to him about before this fight was you have to put yourself where you want to be. And that's what I saw in this fight, was a little bit more. He was really backing up. He was really searching for those straight knees up the center and doing some good damage, landing his hands quite well, used his length. And then just the third round came. I think there's about 5 seconds left in the fight, and his opponent was getting a little bit tired. He'd been kneed up the center quite a bit. Very physical in the clinch the whole fight was Kai, and then he just jumps up in the air with this flying scissor knee and absolutely flatlines the guy.
Yeah, it was a highlight moment, that one.
Yeah. And it was good because what we talked about as well was like Kai's a very talented, very strong young guy, and that like we were talking about, if you're soundly in control of the fight, put your stamp on it. Like that's what I was talking to him about. And that's just a matter of developing his confidence.
Yeah.
And that's what early fights are for, I think. And that was a good display of that. Is he read the ring and understood where he was at. And I think it was a good understanding of his opponent's demeanor and how you can read and analyze that. Because if you watch before this knee, his opponent taking 2 big steps back and a big deep breath. He was quite like he was visibly discouraged, and so it was on Kai to capitalize on his momentum. So yeah, that was a sweet shot.
Yeah, I think like as well, like I think some people just don't realize how long Kai is as well. Like he can cover that distance really fucking quick.
Well, like the thing with Kai is, like, I'm not a small 70 kilo fighter. Like, I'm not the biggest 70 kilo fighter in the world, but I'm definitely a reasonably big dude for 70 kilos. Like, I can fight at 72.5 without issue. Kai is like a couple of inches taller and longer than me.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like as well, like for full sort of 69, 70 where I fight, most would describe me as a pretty tall fighter. That's what, when people ask me what weight I fight at, and I say junior middle, they say, fuck, you're tall for that weight.
Yeah.
Kai's like a couple inches taller than me and fights at 63.5.
Yeah.
It's obscene.
Without much cutting at all.
Yeah, cut that much. He's a sort of funny spot where, like, anytime Kai makes 63.5, like, he doesn't put that much effort into it to the point where you almost go, fuck, he could go lower. But there's just nothing of him. Like, it's just a matter of him growing into that weight.
And there's nothing under that either.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's getting to that point, like with 63.5, I'm going, there's not much here. But then I go 65, I go, there's not much there. 67, I go, But it's like, that's getting to the point, he goes, he has to get a little bit. He has to fill out a bit. And he's fucking young, though. He's like young. 19.
19, just turned 19.
Yeah, he'll fill out.
Yeah, I think Kai's going to be like, maybe even a middleweight. Like when he fills out, I think he'll be.
He's like the George man.
Yeah, for real. Like I think as he fills out, I can definitely see 67 in his not too distant future. Like I think welterweight will probably be. I imagine he'll possibly early in his pro career will probably start fighting at welterweight, and then I can see as he gets into his 20s, like guys grow a lot at like 22, 23.
Yep.
I think
definitely.
I see him possibly 70 kilo, and like guy of his height, like he'd be a tall
Okay.
super middleweight.
He would be.
Yeah,
It's like, his game would still transfer over.
yeah. Like how tall is he? Like 6'3",
I'm not too
maybe.
sure, but he's fucking tall.
Yeah, 6'2", 6'3", something like that.
Just like, annoyingly tall as well.
Frustratingly tall. Yeah, because like I've been training him since he was just like, yeah, like sometimes I look at him and train, I'm like, what the fuck, man?
I said, hey, dude, settle down, just stop growing.
Because he could still get a little taller.
Good.
Yeah,
He definitely could. That's not out of the question.
like I think I was like above 20 when I grew like the last couple centimeters. I think I got a little taller when I was 2021.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. All right, so going from there now, let's go into some of the main cards. So, was it MTA? The first MTA Junior state title was up for bids, and it was a great fight. Like, so we had Kale Wild from SRG, and then we had Blair Gegety is.
I didn't really sure I say Blair's last name.
Yeah,
that's
Blair, but like he's representing, I think, XX Fight Club.
yeah,
Fight team.
Triple X or
Yeah.
XXX.
I don't know how to say that. It's like Triple X sounds weird to me.
It sounds very weird.
But I was like XXX.
That's what I was calling it on commentary, but
Yeah. But like these guys have fought before. And look, man, I'll tell you what, Kale is like fuck. He looked like he put in the right game plan with his coaches and that, and did some training and looked really good.
The kid's sick. I've seen these guys fight. I've commentated these guys fight twice now. The kids are both sick.
Yeah.
Like I've like hats off to both camps and both kids, because like I am just in awe of their skill, genuinely. It comes back to the point earlier, Cal who won, the amount of, it's hard for me to put into words what I mean. I feel like if you know the sport well, you know what I mean when I say how much style that he has. Like the way that, like the aesthetic of his technique, like he's got like a very clear, the way he kind of plays the game, the way he'll move and counter, and the way he has this sort of just flamboyance about the way that he moves, and it's just amazing to me that a fighter of his age can just move like that, like the way that it's just a testament to just the way that. Because when I say like, oh, he's a really, I drive home the idea that he's a young kid, but at any age, his tech is sweet. Like that's why, like,
spot on.
yeah, I'm not saying he's good for a kid. He's really good. Just happens to be a kid, but it says something about like the way that young guys and girls can just absorb. Like they're just sponges, and because you can see like the SRG have like quite a big Thai they're quite a big team of Thai trainers, and they've obviously just kind of found what's working and really just developed him I think you can stylistically develop kids in a different way than you can adults. I think adults kind of like really, maybe they have more of a picture in their head of how they're going to develop, and like they're less of like a blank canvas, and they take things and analyze things on their own, which is not always actually a good thing. Like whereas a kid, you just move like this, and they can just move and they can copy and mirror things really well.
Yeah.
Like because they've obviously just found a cadence, and because it's not just what he does, it's when and how, like a cadence and like a rhythm that works for him, because he moves very uniquely. Like I don't see a lot of fighters in New South Wales, Australia, that move around and like the way he kind of holds his guard, and it's quite like, it is very unique. It's not something that I see a lot, and I guess they've really just found a couple of things that work with him, and just kind of really drilled him in, and yeah, they obviously have a framework to build his, not just his technique, but his style, if that makes sense, and I think it's like amazing to see. To guys so young, like crazy to think like where they're going to be in a couple of years, and I don't want to over talk about Cal Wild from SRG either, because Blair on the other side was amazing, like really had his moments, a good clash of styles as well, like the more aggressive kind of walk forward style, almost like a Muay Mat style, Muay Mat versus Muay Femur kind of match, and Both times, pretty close in times. I think the 5 rounds. The first time I watched them fight was 3 rounds. Yeah. Definitely favoured Cal.
Yeah.
Like that kind of rhythm and movement and
It's
timing.
really nice. Well, Blair was had early success bursting in with the punches and trying get Cal the back off himself with trying to off balance him. But Cal started timing a little bit more and and counter kicked very beautifully underneath the punches and usually just turned off his work after that.
Yeah.
And it's and especially when it's a 5-round fight, it just gets harder and harder to get that explosion going.
Yeah.
That Blair was trying to do. But same thing, Blair has a really bright future. Keeps going the way it's going from there. It's a really good representation of New South Wales up and comers.
Yeah, crazy to see as well. I thought what was so interesting in watching this play out was the way that Cal developed over the course of the fight. He was bringing things back to his corner. He was listening to what they said, making adjustments. The intelligence level in that fight from both sides. Crazy, absolutely crazy. I really enjoyed it. Beautiful fight to watch. I'll be following.
Nice.
Those young fellas' careers.
Definitely. Let's quickly go over the the top end was the pro bout. So there was a WMC women's title. So it was Darla from 8 Limbs versus Tracy from Sijifong. They ended up going to I was about to say it went to decision, but didn't. It actually got stopped by a cut by elbow.
Yeah.
And interesting, these two girls, former stable mates. And
yeah.
But the fight itself from there, it's it was just it was just kind of fought in just the one range.
Yeah.
The entire time. The other seemed like she had a longer reach from there, where Tracy was trying to bury herself through it and try and find a bit of elbow work off of that. But at the end of the day, Darla just started to kind of just level up the work a bit more than Tracy was wasn't going to find the success coming forward.
Yeah, it was a very high-paced fight, and Tracy definitely had her moments early. I think she kind of had I think Darla started to read Tracy's entering rhythm quite well as we got into round 3, round 4. Darla was catching Tracy quite well coming in, and Tracy was kind of putting all her energy into her burst entry, where Darla could sort of quite comfortably use her length and score some points as she was trying to come in. So, and then sort of force Tracy to need to reset. And that's you can see on the Warriors of the Moncon. Oh, see, shout out to On and Warriors of the Moncon for coming back.
Yeah,
back on the scene.
I didn't know he was coming back.
Yeah, I didn't know either, but saw him at the show. And saw some of the content come out. So got sidetracked, but I'm a big Warriors of the Moncon fan. If you haven't seen it, you can still get it online. That's a really dope series. But you can see this sweet slow-mo video that they caught of the elbow that stopped the fight. And it was kind of just, I think, there was 2 rounds consistently that kind of tempo had been playing out of Tracy taking that very linear, straight line, high energy approach to come in and Darla just doing the countering and just pearl over an elbow up the center early in the round. It would have been in the first exchange of that round, and then doctor said, "No bueno."
It's just no mas. Stop this.
Yeah, like we said, massively high energy fight, really high pace. Good win for Darla.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's WMC title from there, and then I don't know who else is in that division that could probably challenge Darla. You reckon?
Good weight class. Davina Martin would be a very interesting fight. I'd like to see that. I think do that next.
Davina and
Marina Verissimo. WBC champion. Yeah, maybe that's the GO.
One person that take all the belts.
To me that's probably we've got a bit of a 2-party system with the titles in New South Wales, so it's probably got to be the go. Yeah, I think Davina next. I reckon do that. I know Darla's got something coming up in Queensland or something, but within New South Wales, probably do Davina and then let Marissimo Marina Verissimo try to get one back out. But it's a good little bracket.
Yeah, it's not bad. Class. Yeah, there's a lot of girls coming through, which is good to see.
Yeah.
So another pro fight that was there. So Darren Chen from PTJ versus Sam McDowell from Bulldog Jib Manly.
Good match.
It was I didn't think when they're in the ring, I go, okay, Sam's a fair bit bigger. I didn't think it was that big of a fellow in that weight class.
He's a tall lad. He's like pretty lanky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, tall boy for 67.
Mm-hmm.
Got like big, long, skinny legs.
Yeah, but Darren, like both these boys are like a long layoff.
Yeah.
From there, so like Darren's last fight was against you, and like Sam and I can't even remember.
Ollie Howe
Ollie Howe?
on what's that show called? Craig Jen's show.
Oh yeah,
Showdown.
Showdown. Yes.
Yeah, in DY. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was. Oh, fuck, it's all these fights now. Honestly, so long ago, like the pre-COVID ones. Like I can't remember what order they went in because Sam did fight Jonathan Iulu as well.
Oh,
that might have been after that.
Maybe.
It was so really. It's a lot of words, but I don't know.
but yeah, it was an interesting contest from there. Like Darren, like everyone kind of like would off the set, like if you watch Darren fight before, just go, it is like a clinching style.
Yeah.
From there, and this was a 3-round fight, also opposed to like most of the time you're gonna fight 5 rounds, so like no matter what. But like I think the question was like does how the boys were gonna start. It's like Darren gonna pick it up quicker, like from the get go instead, like having to use the 2 rounds to kind of weigh it in. Or it's like Sam's gonna. Like usually like you can get his his punching in order. See if they can push like Darren back instead, like getting the clash from there.
Yeah.
But I think like it's like from there, like the boys actually started off like at a pretty easy pace. It wasn't like a straight bang on.
Yeah.
Do you expect sometimes?
I wouldn't necessarily describe Darren or either of them really as like slow starters per se, but they're both smart stylists, and I think. With that, often just comes a slightly slower start. Like Darren's got a good eye. He's got a lot of experience. He reads the ring well, and so he will take his time a little bit, but not like necessarily. No, he doesn't take rounds off. Like he starts assertive enough, but he likes to have a read too. And yeah, there was like one fairly conservative, I suppose, round in this fight, but I thought Darren established his comfort quickest. I think that's how I would describe this. I think Darren looked like he kind of got a handle on, and that comes with a layoff, right? That's often the battle. Is like just when you don't fight for a long time, like you get in the ring, you're like everything feels different. Like I don't even know how to, because I've only had one layoff in like my whole life, and it wasn't even as long as everyone else's was. Like, but yeah, it's weird. Like even the canvas. Actually, this is me. I don't know how everyone else feels. But like the canvas under my feet and the lights in my eyes, like it all becomes unfamiliar. And I think when you get 2 guys coming off a layoff like this, it's kind of whoever finds their comfort a little bit quicker. And I think it was Darren in this fight because he really started to score quite clean. He was controlling clinches very well, and just like some really nicely controlled disengagements as well, which I think can be the difference between like that's kind of what the maker of kind of smart fighting sometimes is. He got in, he did his work in the clinch, and he controlled well to get out, and then that would often mean that Sam was kind of chasing to get some scores back. Sam was letting his left hand quite nicely. I thought he was throwing that through pretty well. That was the main point of adjustment across the middle of the fight. But yeah, Darren, some good strong clinching positions. Nice right kicks. The right kick was scoring
and even
really
punching
well.
for him as well. Like those exchanges where it was like from punch to punch counters.
Yeah, he's a good technician. He's Darren Chen, and yeah, Sam looked pretty solid as well. I think I spoke to him a little bit afterwards, and he said he felt kind of just a step behind the whole way through. But a good high quality match for both of those guys to shake the rust. And yeah, we'll see what comes next.
Yeah, awesome. So let's go into the main event from there. So we had the return of Singpayak, PTJ, on a short
week's notice.
Good boy.
He's a gangster.
And going just up a few weight classes as well. To make the Australian debut of someone we had on the podcast before, Warren from Sittitong.
I got to correct myself here because I made a mistake in commentary. I kept saying that Simpayak could come up to 70 kilos for this fight, but and that's genuinely what I thought. But this fight was at 68 kilos.
Okay.
Because I knew at the weigh-ins that like two got on the scales and he weighed like 67.7, and I was like, overshot it a bit, mate. But then he corrected me after. He said, just so you know that the fight was at 68. So not as much of a jump up for Simpayak, who will fight at 67. I would probably call him a little bit more of a 65 kilo fighter. That's his preferential weight. And he's not even massive for that weight. But yeah, this one was at 68 kilo.
And what like like from the first round, I think it kind of showed that everyone like, yeah, Two's like he could be a pretty really strong presence.
Two's legit, man. Like I was saying this on commentary a lot, like the whole night. I was like, if you are here to watch Singpayak and you don't know who Two is, don't feel like this is like a walkover fight or this is some crazy mismatch. Like he's been quiet for a while, but he's fought legit guys. Like, and you know, like you mentioned, you can catch an episode where he tells a lot of stories on our YouTube. But yeah, he's fought Somrak, he's fought Kemsit Songpinong, he's fought Antoine Pinto. Like he's fought like a laundry list of elite fighters. He's had a busy career on Max Muay Thai. Spent I think 4 years in Thailand in total. So he had a layoff. But like a kind of, he's just a bit of an under the radar character. Not kind of one to sort of over the top promote himself. He's been a little bit, or not in general anyway. Like he's been a little bit quiet lately. But yeah,
But that ring entry, mate. It's like there's nothing quiet about that one.
Well, that's it. That's like I do have to correct myself a little bit because he's a character.
Yeah.
But like over his couple of years of inactivity, he's been a little bit quiet because he moved from Thailand to Australia. He's Chicago.
Yeah.
Born and did a stint in Thailand, and now he's come to Australia. So a lot of like he's known in the scene. Like people that pay close attention know who Tu Warren is. But like he's just been quiet a little bit, so for him to pop up in Australia might like surprise some people. But and then like I don't know if anyone saw the actual card, but I was hysterically laughing as Drew walked out, and I wasn't even just laughing; like I was smacking the table because they announced him and he walked out in a fucking sombrero, a huge sombrero and a poncho. And then they took it off when he got in the ring and he had pistols tucked into his shorts.
I think we're just like, we're wondering, go, what's the connection here? Like,
yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to mean. Like, because he was at the weigh-ins with this big pair of like, sunglasses on, and he got on the scale in sunglasses.
Yeah.
And then I got a message from someone from Sisithon who was in the back saying like, Two's wearing this to the ring, and it was a picture of a sombrero.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did someone bring a sombrero? Like, haha. And then he came out and I was like, no way. Because it's like he got in the ring and then they put the Moncon on and stuff as well. Like it was so funny.
It was funny. It was good though.
I like that. And he's a character. Like it'd be interesting to see him on the scene a little bit more because he's
yeah. I think this fight would have like, you know, people are watching it and there would have been promoters watching it as well because, you know, Simpayak is like, you know, it's a cult hero in the Muay Thai Australian scene. So like, you know, but watching it they go, oh, this is a guy I probably wouldn't mind bringing over to the promotion because like let's look at the first round. The first round was like a very calculated like kick battle and Two was doing really fucking good.
Yeah, like I haven't seen this a lot. Like I thought of this fight, Two's like sort of got that very stocky kind of build. Like I train with Two a lot. He's got a very boxing centric style. He throws his hands a lot. And I kind of thought of this fight like, you know, like almost like a fairly typical kind of Thai versus Westerner fight, like just be physically imposing and try to walk him down the ring, take the space away for it. Simpayak has that beautifully calculated, very kick-oriented style. Just try to take the space away, smother him a little bit, take advantage as well of the fact that he didn't really train for the fight, like try to push the pace and gas. But Two came out and said, like, you want to fight like this? Let's fight like this. Block, counter back, catch, counter. Like they're going kick, and like, if you know Muay Thai, you know, like, you can't just stand in the middle of the ring and swap kicks with Singpayak. Like, no one has... I haven't seen that done super effectively before. But Two was holding his own in there. Like, I don't know if that would have been a surprise to the PTJ corner, the way that he kind of...
Yeah, I don't think they would have expected it.
Yeah, because I didn't expect it. Like, I never seen that. Like,
but even if you watch some of his fights before, it's like, it's not something that he's done in the past much of.
It's like I talked to Aaron about it as well, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know why I did it, but I liked it."
it's like I didn't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, like he was like, "Yeah, okay, this is something we can do."
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and then I think as the rounds progressed, you started to sort of just. It was a bit more in the same. I kind of thought I haven't had the chance to watch it back in full, so I've only got like my.
I remember like Simpayak, you could see like, you know, the fight computer just. he started like in the second round. He goes, all right, let's do this instead. Kick and then block.
Yeah,
straight
it
away.
started to kind of. I think the first round, Singh kind of just not let, but he was happy to play whatever game. Just control and keep himself safe and duel a little bit more. And then as 2 and 3 progressed, he started to, it'll go kick for kick and hold. Yeah, or just like as 2 would kind of, he's just got this amazing ability to cover distance, does Simpayak. Like as 2 would kind of kick and revert back, like out of range, just the grace of the way that Simpayak can just cover that extra space and just drop that almost lunging kind of kick across the body. Like just when you think you're safe, he just kind of glides back into range and catches you on exit. But yeah, like I am like grateful every time I get to watch Singpayak fight. Like the first proper Muay Thai show I ever went to, Singpayak was fighting. And that was one of the reasons I was like, whoa, I don't think I'd ever really been up close to like an elite level Thai fighting. Like it helped my understanding. I think having Simpayak here fighting in Australia, in New South Wales, is like we're super lucky to get to watch him do his thing. Because to watch him there, coming off the couch 1 week, you need someone to save your show.
Yeah,
let's do it.
3 rounds,
and then just watching like the grace and just the style that he has. He's an absolute artist.
Yeah.
But like you say, I think Warren let people know in this fight. He's matched again for only next month. So I'm interested to see him get it wrong. He's got a hard one next month as well.
Oh, it was like, it's like you got to just jump both feet in, especially in the pros, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not scared. Like I talked to him. I think this was a good fight for him to just, I don't know. I feel like if you've had years off and you've got that kind of ring rust and then you've got to go straight back in with Simpayak, like you get that feel. That's like, just get the hardest one out of the way. And then like, if you can hold your own against Simpayak, like who troubles you? It's going to be interesting to see. Because he's fighting Palanchok.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's a secret.
It's like, let's see. Yeah,
you know now.
First.
So
later it's like, it's like, it's like, he's like, you have to bleep that out of your podcast.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not locked in, but
yeah,
I think that's.
Look, that's and it's interesting. Like Palanchok's legit as well. Completely different style than
completely different styles in Payak, but another smart Thai opponent. So
good.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting match.
Awesome. All right. So Simon Sydney. Another success.
Yeah.
Good to see it back in 2021. Back into the full run as well. Like, from development day, amateurs and pros. It was a long day, but it was a really awesome day.
Yeah, wicked day. Like, I was buzzing after that. I couldn't sleep or anything. Like, I don't know if, like, people fully understand from, like, how I am when I talk on here. Like, it's no... Like, I'm not, like, G'ing up for the sake of promoting shows when we talk here. Like, this is me 100%. Like I like get really just legitimately excited and kind of like emotionally invested in Muay Thai fights, especially a day like that where it's like heaps of my friends were fighting, heaps of guys that I really admire were fighting. Like, I couldn't sleep for shit after this fight. Like I was absolutely buzzing afterwards. I thought it was sick. It's just so good to see. I feel like every time I'm at a show now, like, I'm just that little bit more grateful for, especially the format that I get to watch this in, like, up on the balcony, talking everyone through it. Like, I'm just that little bit more grateful for any opportunity to watch Muay Thai now after a year of not being able to.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was unreal. And I'd love to see, like, like Andrew's had a tough run, as have all promoters and gym owners, and had a particularly tough run again with this show.
Yeah.
So when you watch it and it goes off without a hitch after so much behind the scenes work, and you wouldn't even know from being there how much behind the scenes work there was.
Oh, fuck.
Even right up until the day as well. Like,
had to change the venue and everything.
But you like to see Andrew and Art come off well from that, because they do a really good job. They work really hard.
Yeah, it was an awesome show. Cool. All right, we'll call it a day because your microphone's falling off.
Yeah.
and then I think post this one soon, and then we'll have another one up again soon. I think speaking to Sai tomorrow.
Sai Naji.
The mighty Sai.
Going to grace us with his presence.
Oh, I don't know. He's got some beef. He wants to get off. Maybe not, though. But, yeah. But other than that, guys, remember, share the podcast, tell your friends, your family and that, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye.